and welcome back to Let's Talk Terror. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, death, the unknown, what all is out there are all questions that none of us truly know the answer to. In today's episode, we're going to talk about a haunting that refuses to stay in the shadows. Joining me today is a woman whose deeply personal true story has her family plagued by generational supernatural activity. What makes it very chilling is that everything was captured on camera. Now, this isn't Hollywood horror. This is what happens when something attaches itself to you. So sit back, stay spooky, and let's talk terror. Hello, Ashley. Thank you so much for coming to talk to me. I cannot wait because your story is crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Now, I talk to a lot of filmmakers who make horror movies, and
Yeah,
horror movies are not real. But your story is very real and
yes,
very horrific. And I we're going to talk about it. Now you were featured, you and your family were featured in a documentary called It's Coming.
yes.
Can you first introduce yourself and then tell me what that documentary is about?
Okay, my name is Ashley Roland-White. I appeared in the documentary called It's Coming. Um, it has me and my children in it, and basically, the way it started out, it was a documentary about sleep paralysis. But as we were trying to film, every time the producer would come in, everything would go flying all over the place. So it quickly changed from the sleep paralysis to the paranormal. And then it led into trying to bring in help to try to see if we could get some type of cleansing. And it was just a big ordeal.
I didn't realize that it started out as something else. I thought it was always like a paranormal thing.
That the producer was looking for people who suffer from sleep paralysis, and I've always suffered from sleep paralysis, and I knew why I suffered from it. These entities would bother me at night all the time. So going into it, I wasn't even sure if I was going to mention um, why I thought that I was suffering from this sleep paralysis. I just wanted to talk about the sleep paralysis, see if there were other people out there who were suffering from the same thing. And what happened was I didn't have to say anything because every time we were trying to film um, and speak about sleep paralysis, things would go flying across the room. Um, so it became pretty obvious that there were bigger things going on, around me, and then it took off from there.
Oh my goodness. Was there a certain point where you and the producers were like, "Oh yeah, we're changing that." Was there something very specific that happened, or is it just the general, "Hey, weird stuff is happening here"?
So the first few times that the producer came, he's a great producer, Shannon Alexander. He came, and the first time he actually walked into my apartment, the lights cut off, just cut off. So at that point, I know what's going on, but I'm kind of embarrassed. So I'm like, oh, maybe it's just something electrical. Um, but then we would try to talk, and cabinets would slam. I would now in real time, I can see these entities. Some of them I call passers, which are people that just passed on and just,
Hmm.
I would see them and still try to pay attention to him at the same time. But I think he could sense that. But I think at a certain point, when things like that keep happening, things keep falling, things keep flying across the room, you can't, hide it anymore. So he asked
Yeah.
what's going on, and I just told him.
Oh my God.
Changed the complete nature of where the film was going at that point. And as far as my son getting involved, one day we were taking a break. We had been filming for a while, taking a break, and I forgot what I was doing, but my son sat down with him and was just telling him, this wasn't being recorded, just telling him his experiences. And then after that, he came to me and said, I think we should include, Javier and the rest of the kids that are experiencing these things in the film.
Now, can you describe the process of having a film crew come film you? What is that like?
Um, it was different at first. Like, just imagine being in your house, but there's a camera, there, cameras, there's other people. For the most part, it was the producer for the most part, but the cleansings, and then different times I would have a few of them. And honestly, after a while, because this took, I want to say, almost about a year to film,
Wow.
you completely forget that they're even there. Or, you know what, I'm going to be honest, you kind of don't care that they're there.
Yeah.
And so eventually that's what happened. So I got used to it. But most of the time it was mainly like for the interviews. A lot of the time it was he would set up the cameras and it would be the producer. But at different times we did have other people come in.
Did the crew kind of become part of your family at that point?
Um,
Or maybe certain people, or maybe not at all?
Shannon for sure. And the rest of them, I did have, like, they had soft spirits to me, so it kind of, we all just became, it became normal. And I do feel like they're good people and they have good nature about them. So, naturally it became, wasn't shy anymore or anything like that. So, and once I got to that point, I think I was more comfortable. I think you have to be comfortable who
Right.
you're around to be able to comfortably tell your story. And I was definitely comfortable um, telling my story. I mean, people that are close to me know that I have the ability to see things that other people can't see. But I think telling it to other people or the world, that makes it like completely different.
Right.
Comfortable with these people to do it.
Now, speaking of family, you mentioned in the documentary that you figured out that this was kind of a generational thing. It wasn't just a haunting for you, it was almost passed down. Um, how did you come to that conclusion?
So to be honest, before the film, I knew that already. I knew
Okay.
that because this isn't my first time. I'm originally from Albany, New York. I came to New York, started day trading, and New York is a little faster. So I ended up doing other things. I opened up a cleaning business, and it just became more beneficial for me to stay down here. But when I was living in Albany, so at 11 I had to move from a house because it was so haunted. My mother tried everything. She tried having the church come in. She tried just about everything. And we're religious people, but there's only so much when you have children that you want to deal with.
Right.
Moved. Um, I was 11 at that point, but if you fast forward to me having my second child, I think I was around 21. I moved to a place called Cohoes, New York, which is also upstate. That house was so haunted that I had an actual paranormal team come in. They made us leave and they recorded, everything and played it back to us. Now that's the point where I realized that I don't think it's the houses. I think it's me.
That's the worst option.
That is the worst option, and that was hard to accept. But I guess I just became used to it. And at that point, my second child was seeing things. She had this friend that she was always playing with. Um, and I tried to put it out of my mind. No, that can't be. That can't be. I ended up seeing the child that she was playing with myself. So that was the confirmation. I seen the child that was she was describing, and I was like, okay, so it's not just where I go, it's me, and it's my children as well.
Right. Now, also in the movie, um, there's a story that the title comes from. Can you tell us what it's coming means?
Actually, the producer, he came up with the "It's Coming." I know during the process when he was going through the footage, I travel a lot. It's
Hmm.
what I do, so I wasn't home. But I remember one day he called me and he said, "Can you do FaceTime?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's showing me all these things that he caught, when he's going through the footage that he didn't actually see in real time. A lot of it I did.
Yeah.
And it seemed like every time, every different day, like he would go to look at the footage and try to put it together, he would see something else. So I'm assuming like it's coming. There's another one coming. There's another one coming. And at one point during the film, there were like 15 entities in the living room at one time. So I think when you think about the name, it makes sense because there's definitely something always coming.
Does that worry you?
I think it used to. I don't think it does anymore. I have been seeing spirits since I was very young. Um, and some of them I talk to, some of them I have conversations with. Some of them have given me messages to loved ones that are left behind, and I was able to help them. So I don't think it really scares me, but sometimes I think it worries me because we all know that all of them are not good. Most of them are not good. So I don't know if I'm coming across something demonic sometimes at first, or if this is just someone who passed on and just wandering. Maybe they didn't cross over or something like that. So I guess I'll put it like that.
How has filming all of these experiences affected them? If it has at all, do they act different? Are they more anxious? Are they more outgoing? Are they more anything because of this whole documentary taking place, and even because of this whole haunting taking place?
And this is going to sound a little crazy. I think especially Javier and my youngest child Alexis. I think in a way they almost become me where it doesn't bother them. So especially Javier, we end up a lot of the time seeing the same thing at the same time. So let's just say I'm sitting here and Javier is sitting next to me. He'll see something and say, "Mom, do you see that lady over there?" I'll say, "Yeah." "Well, what does she look like?" And I will describe what she looks like, and he'll say, "That's definitely who I see." Just like to reassure himself that he's seeing what he's seeing. And I think him feeling like, okay, I'm not crazy. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
he's at that point in accepting that, okay, he has what I have. He can see these things, but I teach him most of the time because he's a child. You don't know if it's something demonic or not. So just in a way, ignore.
Yeah.
Act like you don't see it. And sometimes he can do that. I would say most of the time he can do that, but sometimes um, they will scare him, and he'll come and have to wake me up, or he'll hear a spirit that's calling my name in real time and come get me and say, "Mom, I hear someone calling your name." So I just wish this only affected me. I wish it wasn't them
Yeah.
because I feel like I can handle it a little better. And the type of person I am. And I think a lot of the bad entities realize that I'm very easily angered. I'm working on it. Um, but they can get to me. They can piss me off. I'm sorry to say it like that. Especially when, I have days where I really have things that I have to concentrate on and I have cabinet slamming, or 2 days ago I had something thrown straight at me and I just happened to like dodge at the right time. So then when those type of things happen, I'll go on like my rants, and that actually makes it worse. So I've been trying to stop doing that. But um I don't think it bothers Javier at all.
Well, that's not good, but like that's
It's
good.
not.
Yeah, he has. I could tell from watching, and he has kind of like a confidence about it that it's not. Like it's not necessarily traumatizing him, which is good.
And like I said when I started, I'm like, that's why it's gonna sound weird because that is weird. And I let him know that this is nothing to play with because eventually,
Right.
um, I've heard stories of people getting hurt, believe it or not, by these things. So I just wish it was a me thing and not my children thing.
Yeah.
But I, from going through it since a child, that you can't ignore that you just seen somebody walk past you or, you know,
Right.
going on around you. I pray that as he gets older, he learns how to deal with it a little better. But I've done many interviews on this, many podcasts, and I don't know if I ever mentioned that because no one wants to say it's worse or sometimes it's worse. But I feel like bringing in the medium, it amped up things at certain times. So
Yeah.
I'll have times where it's quiet for a while, maybe a few days, and then it gets really bad. It gets really bad. And in the particular apartment when I am in New York that I'm in, my husband's family, there was some brujeria done.
Hmm.
What that is, I don't know if it's white magic or black magic. Anyway, those things are not good.
Yeah.
There were doorways that were already open, so that's why I think it's worse here. And some people will say, "Well, why don't you just get up and leave?" Well, number one, they follow me wherever I go.
Right. It's not it's not so simple. It's you that's haunted.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I will go into an Airbnb for a while. I randomly will get up and say, "Okay, I'm leaving for a month. I'm going to stay in an Airbnb because it's not as bad because
Right.
there's doorways that are open in these places for the most part." Um, but yeah, by doing this film and I think getting it out there, and me, doing these interviews often, these entities hear what I'm saying. And some of them don't like that I'm talking to you guys. They don't like that I'm giving my experiences. So afterwards, I will live through hell for the next few days. And I know that that's not normal. Um, what can I do? You know, I'm.
I apologize in advance.
Oh,
I'm so sorry. I hope that this doesn't cause anything too wild to happen.
oh, I'm tough. I think like anything. When you're used to it, you're used to it.
Yeah,
I'm, I'm,
that is
I'm
true.
determined to speak about it to whoever wants to hear about it. And there are a lot of people who they may not have my abilities, but they experience hauntings in their house. Um, and it's not that easy for everyone to just get up and leave. That takes money, number one.
Right.
And some people might have you've heard the story. Some people just purchase this house and then they move in and then this is going on. How are they just going to get up and leave?
Right. In this economy, no.
Uh,
No.
even with the price of food, that alone will hit a person. So, um, I just want them to understand, like, you're not the only one who goes through these type of occurrences. It just happens for me. It just happens to be worse because I can actually see them. It's not just things being thrown or hearing things or seeing things here and there. No, I see them just about every day.
See, I don't even know what I would do in your situation, and I don't know what would be worse, having a haunting happen and not being able to see what's causing it or being able to see. I I don't want any of that, to be honest.
No, I'm sure you don't. And there's some controversy because I've done interviews where I've gotten asked that question because I'm Baptist. I grew up Baptist. My grandfather was a preacher. My whole family, is involved in the church. I've been involved in the church since I was younger. And they always tell us whatever you're seeing is evil. You're not speaking to who you think you're speaking to. You know, um, they're all bad. I've kind of been on the fence around that since I was younger because, like I said, there are messages I have gotten for people I didn't even know, and I would look them up or find them somehow and give them that message. And it actually made me feel good because these people knew I was real because how would I know anything about what I'm telling you?
Right.
about anything about a childhood memory of you and your, brother that passed or your loved one that passed. So I'm kind of like, well, if they're all bad, how do those times happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you
Yeah.
explain that? So there's a lot of things that came from putting this out there, and I knew it would. They say don't read the comments, but unfortunately,
You're human. I would read them too, just to see.
there are nights when I literally have sat up like 3, 4 hours just reading comments. And some people say, well, she should be um put in jail for allowing her child to participate in her children to participate in these things. And I'm like, you know what? They're just telling their experiences. No different than anybody else getting on TikTok, talking about
Right,
talking about what they go through. And some people want to hear this because they go through it. So what about them? So that's why I do it.
now you come across as very resilient for sure, but also I can tell that you are over it. You're so over it. I had this coworker who that was like we used to kid with her about it because that was like her motto, just I'm over it, I'm over it. And you give me that same vibe.
Yeah.
You kind of alluded to it, but how do you deal with your day to day, knowing that this might be a possibility that you're gonna have a run-in with spirits, with some kind of entity, anything?
Um, let me put it like this. I'm a very loving person, but anybody that knows me knows I'm a very no nonsense person. So the way I handle people is the way I handle these entities. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, I come right at them. I come right at 'em.
Good.
Those days when I have stuff to do. It's like, I go in sometime, and I understand it makes it a little worse sometimes. But honestly, if I'm not being me and being the person I am and coming back at them, I feel like, all right, I'm just letting them win. And
Right.
I would never let that happen. I would fight tooth and nail. I mean, I've gotten into the biggest word battles that you can think of with these entities. Um, and sometime, a lot of the time, before I get that upset, I start to quote like Bible verses. I'll go put on the gospel music as loud as I can do and blast it because I know they don't like that. And now you're gone, at least for a little while, temporarily. I know it's not forever, but so those are usually the things I try to do. I try to quote the Bible verses. I try to remember what the demonologist told me, Chris. Um, I try those things first, and a lot of the time they do work, but sometimes they don't, and things are still getting thrown. I got, like I told you the other day, something was tossed at me, and this is gonna sound crazy. I tossed something back,
You
knowing it.
never know, it might do something. You never know.
My son, my oldest, was like, that's not going anywhere, right? But here nor there.
You still gotta try.
I do, and I can't block the ability, so I just have to learn to live with it.
The documentary includes unexplained sounds. You have some physical marks in there, like stuff is actually happening, but you also have real life people not inside of your family coming in, professionals. You got city workers coming in, you got firefighters coming in. Did all of that, all of these people outside of your sphere, did that make this all the more real for you?
It did, because if you think about it, most of the time it's me, the people that live in my house. I've had family members, and this has had been at different houses or places that I've been in. I've had family members come over and say, "I'm not coming back over there." Like, simply, I'm not. Because they can't handle it like I can. They can't take the fact that they just seen a little boy that just walked by that doesn't belong here. So they're like, okay, and those are people who don't even have the ability, but like really quickly they would catch it, or they would,
Right.
at something being thrown. But having the other people come in, it definitely made it more real, especially like the firefighters, because they were bound and determined to figure out where that smell was coming from. Because I think you can hear it where one of them says, "Oh, I definitely smell something.
Yes, yes.
It's not the gas, but there's something. There's something weird." And you don't get to see all of it, but they stayed for a while. Like they were bound and determined. And then when the firefighters left, National Grid actually showed up about 2 hours later just to make sure, it wasn't a gas line or something like that. And it wasn't. It wasn't. And then eventually it just went away. But
Has
that
it,
definitely more real, having other people come in and experience some of what I was.
was there any really wild incident that happened off camera that we didn't see?
Oh, there's a few of those. Okay, so the part of the film where the mic fell on me.
Yes.
Now, before I'm giving my interview, and right, like, I want to say, I want to give you an exact timeline. I'm my husband says you are too what do you call it? You always have to be so precise. I like to be precise. So like 10 minutes before the mic fell, if the mic is in front of me, and you know how they have like the big furry
Yeah.
part, that's usually they put it above you so it's not shown, but your voice comes out clearly. And the producer is behind that. I seen two entities. They kept walking behind him. So the whole time I'm trying to look at the camera, but I'm gazing off at the same time, because my biggest fear is them touching, you know, touching him, throwing,
Right.
while he's trying to give the interview. And at that interview, I was actually speaking about the firefighters and everybody. I think it was the day before. For some reason, every time I was giving an account of something that would just had happened, maybe a day before or whatever, um, they would get really upset and do stuff. So when that mic came flying at me, I knew that it was the two entities that had been standing behind the producer the whole time. And you got to remember, they can't see them. I can.
Yeah.
So there was, I would say, most of the time when I was filming this film and even doing a couple podcasts, I would see people, entities, people I don't know. Most of the entities I see, I don't know them. They look like you and me, but I just know that, they're kind of like dead.
Hmm.
I hate to say it like that. So you know what the dead look like. They look
Yeah.
dead. They're human, but they look dead. And I'm seeing these two people behind Shannon the entire time before that mic fell. And my heart is racing because I'm like, if they hit him or do something to him somehow, he's not going to want to come back here ever again. So, but to answer the question, those are the things that would happen that you wouldn't see. And that was because the angles that the camera, they were all focused on me and not around me.
Do you tell people if there's something posted up behind them, or you just let it be because you don't want to scare anybody? Or does
Um,
it depend?
so with Shannon, I didn't want to scare him. And I knew that he already knew there were entities in here because there were too many things that had happened. So even though he can't see the entity that's doing it, he could see the lights being cut off. Like
Yeah.
he can catch the vibe. Now in the film, you can hear me saying to demonologist, his name is Chris, and his wife's name is Harmony. Very nice people. Um, there were so many points where like Harmony was standing somewhere and they were right near her. So I would yell out, I think she should come over here. I think she should stand here.
Okay.
That was like my cue to say, these entities are getting too close to her. Do what you will with me, but not people that are, you
Right.
know, that would be, I would feel so bad. Things like that would definitely happen. I'll just put it like this. It was very hard to focus. It was very hard to focus. I think even though they followed me everywhere, if I was filming somewhere else that wasn't here, where it's the activity is so high, it wouldn't have been as bad. But every time people come, it's so bad. I'm trying to focus on the interview or whatever I'm doing, and they're everywhere.
Oh my goodness. I can't imagine. I would be so like You almost got to have blinders on to focus.
And
My
it
God.
causes depression at certain times. I go into these modes sometime of um I might not speak really for the whole day. I'll do what I got to do for my kids, or I'll tell my husband it's one of those days.
Yeah.
You got to bring them to school. You got to do everything because I'm in that dark place, and I'm going to tell you exactly where that comes from. So certain entities, especially children, where they've died, like this one girl died in an accident at 7, and I actually I see her a lot, and for some reason she's attached to me. And even one of my kids ended up seeing her, like, you know how a 2-year-old or a baby would wrap their arms around your leg if you're trying to.
Yes.
So me and my son were doing something, and I left his room to go get something, and the the kid was on my waist, like trying to grab onto my waist. Now I can feel it, but when my son seen it, this is my older son who normally would just try to ignore all that.
Yeah.
That was like scary, in a way. But back to where I think the depression comes from, I can feel what the entity is feeling.
Oh,
They died a horrible way, or if they're lost, I can feel that. And when I mean feel it, I mean crying. I mean, I'm a mother of 5. So I feel so bad that there's really nothing I can do.
yeah.
So when I get into those modes, it brings me down for a couple of days, and I'm like in that depression mode. There was one time during the film where, like I said, there were like so many of them that I just started crying because it was so much sorrow, so much pain, so much loss, all at one time.
It sounds exhausting. And I wasn't even thinking about like being able to feel what they feel. That's a whole other level of
Yeah,
stuff you don't want.
yeah.
Bless your heart, because you are a strong lady. You are a very strong lady. My God. Now, you did a couple of cleansing rituals. You had people come in and try to help you.
Yeah.
And by the end of the documentary, it seemed like it was kind of okay for a little bit.
I think they played. I think the entities played games with me because it did seem like that. It did.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you exactly when it ramped up to start becoming. All right, I'm gonna tell you when it ramped up to where I knew maybe by me just doing this, I might have made it worse. All those thoughts go through your head. Right? I mean, I'm only human. When I had to start doing interviews again, it premiered in Canada first, and then it came to the U.S. about a year later. But whenever it's been released somewhere new, or it's maybe going on a new platform, um, I have to, there's interviews and everything scheduled around
Right.
that. So now I'm talking about it again. So now it's almost in a way like filming, like I'm telling the story again, and they don't like that. So I did an interview with the Foreman brothers. They're also like everywhere. They're on YouTube, and when they came, I could see entities, but I could tell they knew something was going on because there's this wire in my house, like the cable wire. Sometimes they stick
Mm,
like to the ceiling. It like came down so abruptly,
mm.
and I'm like, man, I can't even do an interview. There was one interview I did where there were 2 people, and it was me, and me and one of the people that were interviewing me heard this guy say, "Hey guys." Now I'm thinking, okay, there's no way they heard that, and he called it out. He was like, "Oh my god, did you hear that?" And I'm like, "Oh man, they're definitely attached." And whenever I talk
Oh,
bring people, because a lot of those interviews, because of the nature, they wanted to come inside here. You know what I mean? To
yeah.
really feeling and doing that, they definitely left knowing like, okay, this is real. So, yeah.
It's like you don't know what you're asking for coming in here.
Oh, but you know what? Sometime, people want validation. I'm not saying they did it for that, but
Yeah.
they just wanted to have the feeling. And I think for them, the in-person interviews are also good. You know what I mean? Because you're actually in the location. So it's like that.
Your story strips away the Hollywood aspect that people like me normally see. But your documentary is not like that at all. This is real. It's not a movie to be like enjoyed. That's not really the word I want to use, but it's not that type of movie. Was it important for you to show that like this is real life? This is not a game?
Definitely. Definitely. Because, like I said, I know there's people who go through things like this, and maybe they just needed to see it. Um, I think sometimes Hollywood gets a little saturated, or even some of the paranormal shows. Um, I think when they first started, it was kind of, like we did.
Yeah.
And I think throughout time, it got a little, anything to get views. And
You got to get them ratings up.
exactly. And this was like, no, everything you've seen happened. And for a lot of it, I only seen it until the producer went back and was, looking through it. Now he gets to see, like, there's this one scene where there's an entity that walks clear across the wall. It's black. It's like it walked as if it was leaving the apartment, just walked clear across. Or when my oldest daughter is speaking, and I think the producer tried to slow it down so you can see it, but you can see the black
Hmm.
go right past her. And I'm actually glad he caught all that, because I wanted people to see, in some people's lives, if these entities are attached to you, look how my life is. Look how we really live. And I've been accused of being snappy, easily angered sometimes, but I try to get people to understand, look what I deal with.
Right? Like, I wonder why. I'd be snappy too.
It's not personal. It's not anything like that, because anybody knows I'm so loving. I would literally give the shirt off my back and freeze to save somebody else if I had to. But sometimes my emotions are all over the place. I have children. Mess with me if you want to, but not the children.
Yeah.
Because there's times when my daughter has to, she's 7 now, but she has to come get into bed with me because she just went to use the bathroom, and now she's seen this guy standing in the hallway, and it's like, okay, definitely not going back to my room. And I completely understand that. And I do hope that maybe at some point they will just leave the kids be. You know what I mean? And realize that they're different than me. But then I thought about it. I said, an ability is an ability. They just have the ability that I have. That's all. But I definitely tell them, don't have conversations with these things,
Right.
especially Javier, because there's times when I hear him having a full blown conversation with these things, and I can see them. I'll be walking down the hallway. He might be in the living room talking to one of them, and I can see him. So you know what I do? I'm like, Javi, why don't you throw your shoes on? We're gonna go to the store real quick. I gotta grab some, and I need you to help me carry some stuff. I try to do it that way, because when I come direct, um, and he's 10 now, he'll be 11 at the end of the month. To him, because of his age, it's like, oh, I'm just a buzzkill. I'm just killing his vibe, and I
Yeah.
don't understand. These things can appear as children, and they're not children. He might see it as a child sometime, but a lot of the time, I'll see the true form and be like, no, that's nothing you should be talking to or engaging with. So I guess that's really the frustrating part of all this, is navigating the children.
Yeah. I mean, at least that's one thing Hollywood gets right is that it's not what you think it is. It's something that you shouldn't be dealing with. Um, Now, there of course are skeptics out there. I
Oh,
am not one of those. I fully believe there's stuff out there. I have not experienced anything like that. But I do believe, and I believe you. Is there anything that you want those skeptics out there to take away from this?
okay, let me start by saying this. I'm sure everyone has seen something maybe one time, and then when you've seen it a second time and really paid attention to it, you kind of seen something different or learned something that maybe you might have missed because you were, talking at the time. There are times in that film where when Chris and his wife were here trying to help cleanse, I would literally point out where they were before the cameras even shot that way. I'm telling them where these things are standing to say, okay, there's one there. I see something there. And then when they do the camera and you can see like the stick figure, how it,
Hmm.
that's impossible if it's not real.
Right.
But um, as far as skeptics, I understand them too because this is something that's not the normal. Um, it's not something that everyone goes through um, every day. And I've always had this belief that just think about things from everybody's perspective sometime, not just yours.
Right.
I wouldn't put my kids, I wouldn't let them speak if I felt like maybe it needed to be out there like, look, this is happening to my children. But I also have another belief. It seems like society will believe a lie before it would believe the truth. And I know I'm not the only one who sees that. They will believe a lie before the truth. And I truly believe that certain people that have labels put on them or maybe they might have even been put on medication for it. I don't believe they're crazy. Not all of them.
Right.
They are seeing what they're seeing. But because everyone else doesn't have the ability to see that, they get the label of they're crazy, they're this, they're that. Oh no. This is definitely real. If good exists, evil exists. I also believe this is not, I also know, I'm going to put it like this. This is not the only dimension. There are multiple dimensions. I've done astral projection plenty of times. And it's not something controlled where I can just say, okay, I'm going to astral project and watch myself sleep. It normally happens by accident, but it's happened. And I've seen things that if I was to speak about every single thing I have seen, they would say the same thing about me. They're probably saying it now with this, but this is real. I'm just saying to people out there, do your research. I'm not the only person. It may not have they may not have had it filmed, but they might have used their own phone and recorded something in their house, and it's like, no, what you're seeing is what you're seeing.
Yeah.
So, but I don't get it upset with the skeptics because the people that do believe and it touched them because they're going through it and they tell me that it's worth it. It's worth it just for the ones that it might have helped believe that there's nothing wrong with them, if anything else.
Now, last question. We're at the end. After living with this haunting, how do you personally define darkness?
It exists. It's kind of almost like I said, if good exists, evil exists. I think darkness is the other side of pleasantness. Um, it's the sorrow, the things I feel. It's the pain. It doesn't. I don't think it necessarily has to be just um demonic things. I think darkness is just something that's the opposite of good, the opposite of feeling happy, the opposite of being optimistic. Um, and I think we all at certain points experience some type of darkness, whether we lost someone or whether we lost something like a job, and now you're in that mode of you know losing hope, giving up. I think darkness is the balance, just like you have good and evil. I think darkness kind of exists to test you in a way also, to see if you can not lose that hope, to see if you can walk out of this on the other side. Um, so I know I might be all over the place, but I'm trying to put it, as best I can. Asking me that question for me is a little different because I live it, unfortunately, so often
Mm-hmm.
because of what I go through. So I see a lot of it, but I just think darkness, it just represents the bad. It represents the not well. It represents pain and all those things that we don't like. That's what I think darkness really is.
Is there anything else you want to tell the audience?
You know what? I think I'm going to mention this. Now, I can see what I see. I know a lot of people can't see full body apparitions or even have conversations with them the way I do. So when we were filming this, the reason that we even involved the Ouija board, which I strongly suggest you not, um, was to get certain things to appear at certain times so other people could see what I was dealing with. Because it's like, okay,
Right.
I can see you, but if I maybe mess with them or anger them a little bit, they'll, because they need energy to appear to the normal person. You know how someone doesn't have the abilities, but they'll say, "Oh my God, I know I seen something in my house." That entity gained up enough energy to appear, at least for that second, or at least enough to throw something so that other people can see it. That was done so everyone else could see some of what I was seeing, and half the time in the film you could see I didn't have to do any of that.
Right.
Just picked up. Don't do that. Don't play with the Ouija board. And by the way, that part wasn't done in the home. It was done at a hotel. Reach out to your local churches and stuff like that if you want some help. Don't try to be me and do the whole battling with these things all the time, because it can get worse. It can definitely get worse, and I wouldn't wish what I go through on anyone. So just know that when you play with Ouija boards and things like that, you are opening doors that you shouldn't be opening. Whether you do it in your home or not, it can follow you. But to my defense, it's like me and my family are already dealing with this anyway.
Right.
So it's going to be nothing different than it already is. And then I learned with time, like, okay, I still shouldn't have done it because it still ramped things up to a certain point. So yeah, please just don't stay away from any black magic, white magic. I don't care what they call it. It's all the same thing, and you're opening doors. And to everyone that this does help, so you can realize that you're not the only one going through it. That was my goal, and I'm glad of that part.
It's coming leaves us with a lot more questions than we have answers, and that's probably the most frightening thing of all. And with that in mind, I want to give a huge, huge thank you to Ashley and her family for doing this episode with me and talking about things that maybe others have experienced and giving a voice to them. So whether you walk away a believer or remain a skeptic, one thing is certain: some darkness doesn't need a spectacle to be terrifying. So until next time, trust your instincts, protect your space, and stay spooky.